Ladies and gentlemen, they said it would never happen, and to be quite frank, it nearly didn't, and we're surprised it has. But they are reunited once again. Kieran Fallon, 6 times champion jockey. Seb Sanders, better known as Kieran's fanboy, but also, well, you shared a title with Jamie Spencer, so you almost won one, but didn't quite. But we're not here to talk about jockeys' titles. We're here to be able to talk about the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Stakes, who in 2002, if I can call a race, who was won by Kieran on the mighty Golan, who had won the 2,000 guineas, finished second in the Derby the previous year, won the King George in 2002. And Seb actually came 19th. Seb did ride in the King George. He rode Look Here, didn't you, back in the day? Before we get to Kieran, let's just remind her, Look Here, you won the Oaks on Look Here. Rafe Beckett is as big a fan of you as you are of Kieran, to be fair. Okay. Says you're outstanding. Tell me about Look Here and the King George.
Look, she ran in the Coronation, and I was probably too hard on her, and she never really recovered from the Coronation, where she got beat short head. But she was a great filly. I won the Oaks on her, and yeah, I mean, I went into the King George thinking I had a chance, but you know, you're on a different level, different playing field basically, and against the boys, yeah, tough for a filly.
Kieran, hard race to win the King George. It's full of good horses, often they're retained riders. You won it on Golan. He was an 11-2 shot on the day. When you look back, it's hard to believe that Grandira was favourite for that King George, but he was. But Golan was a pretty talented horse.
Yeah, he won the Guineas. It was my first classic back after I had fall at Ascot, so I was only really getting going again. But I enjoyed that win at Ascot because I just got up to beat Richard Hills. And
he was on Nairn, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, but Golan wanted to win more so, I think, than Richard's horse. He stuck his head out. It was just amazing, you know. And I felt, you know, something, and it was great for Sir Michael as well. So.
And the King George as a race, if you ask jockeys, you know, which race do you want to win? Most of them will say the Derby or perhaps the Arc de Triomphe. Those two will be at the top of the list. But if anyone said the King George, you wouldn't think that was a silly answer in any way.
No, and it's a great race as well, especially for stallions profiles and that, you know. And every year it throws up a great race. Unfortunately, this year, you know, to see the entries, it's really surprising. For we're looking at 1.5 million and no runners in the race.
Well, you say that, but we'll come on to the runners in a minute. Just finally, because obviously it's very hard for me to get Battleship Bruce into this conversation as far as Seb is concerned when we're looking at nightmares in racing. But with you, did you ever ride something in the King George that you came away thinking, I should have won it?
No, the one actually I thought my strongest ride would have been Oath, after he was an impressive winner of the Derby, and he didn't actually go on after that to do much, but that would have been the one I thought would win and didn't.
Seb, the key to this year's race may well be Aidan O'Brien. Continuous is in there, so we can pretty much say there's going to be a strong pace. Now, we saw at Royal Ascot, sometimes the strong pace doesn't actually go the way you want it to. But Continuous is in there, so we're going to get a gallop.
Yeah.
The attacking horses first on Continuous are going to probably be either Jan Brueghel or Lambourne. Look, by Thursday, whatever we do today, and we're chatting on Monday, first day of the week, King George Saturday. By Thursday, we're going to know which of those two, if you were Aidan, though, would you run?
I think Jan Brueghel. I think he stays the distance well, and the way they're going to try and set the race up, I think will really suit him. They're very similar, him and Lambourne, in the style of racing they've got. They're proper mile-and-a-half horses with class. But I tend to think Jan Brueghel will be the one that they'll go for, in the fact that Lambourne's got other options, i.e., you know, thinking about the ledger and stuff. I would imagine that they'll go with Jan Brueghel, and with the fact that, you know, I think they learnt a lot with what he did at Epsom in the Coronation. You know, he basically outstayed Calandagan. I mean, we've got two great horses that hopefully, if they turn up and the ground's going to be good ground or even a bit quicker. You know, one's a proper staying mile-and-a-half horse, where the Calandagan has got that kick. And he was pretty impressive in France with his last run. He galloped out superbly well.
Kieran, you know all about Ballydor, you rode there, you were part of the team. When you have a pacemaker in a big race, and you know what your pacemaker's going to do, and it's not always to set a furious pace, sometimes it's to set a slow pace or try and trick people. But how much of that is it a help to the stable rider?
It's always going to be a help, you know. I think, as Seb said, Brueghel, I think he's tough as nails. I thought if Rebel Romance turns up, he's going to be a hard horse to beat. He looks amazing. You know, he's lightly raced, doing everything right at home. And I just think on his last win at Royal Ascot, he will only improve, you know, especially that was like a confident booster for him. Didn't have a hard race, but it depends exactly what Aidan turns up with.
He's an interesting horse, Rebels Romance, from the point of view, we've currently got 8 runners. Now, come Thursday, we might not have, but if you bet anti-post, you get 3 places. He's the kind of horse, Rebels Romance, at around 5-6 to 1. You could say, okay, I'm going to back him each way. I think he'll be he's a warrior. He's not probably the most talented horse in the race, but you know you get a run, you know he stays, you know he goes on the ground, and he knows how to win.
He is going to be a bit of an overlooked horse on the day, especially if we see the likes of Calandagan or Brueghel turn up. But are they going to be obsessed with trying to get each other beat, which will might set the race up for Rebels Romance? I tend to agree with you. He could be very much overlooked.
I want to come back to Brueghel though, and the idea that Calandagan can't beat him because of what happened at Epsom. Now, Calandagan, for almost the first time in his life for me, was ridden like a normal horse in the Grand Prix de Saint-Cloud, and he absolutely hacked up. You know, Kieran, you know all about this much better than me, that's why you're here, but he was given a hell of a lot. The effort to get to Brueghel at Epsom just meant he didn't have anything left, but he'd been sit 4 or 5 lengths closer. It might have all been different. I kind of feel he's more talented than Brueghel.
Yeah, there was question marks and squiggles after his name, and I thought that on the day in the coronation. But when you look back and seeing how impressive he has been since, well then, you know, you're scratching your head.
I mean, he's won at Royal Ascot before. He was second in the Kipco Champion Stakes behind Anmar on soft ground. He likes Ascot, this horse. I think it suits him for whatever reason. You wouldn't necessarily think it would, but it does. I don't know. I think he's a better horse than Brueghel. I'll say it. I think he is.
It looked like that at Epsom. It looked like as if he was going to come and beat him, but Brueghel just kept pulling out the stops, which means, he's just
he's given too much to do, wasn't he, Kieran? If you'd ridden that, you'd have been kicking. You'd have done that thing you used to do. Because I used to report when you used to do it. You'd come in, you'd storm past, go into the weighing room looking miserable and smash the table down, throw things at the stewards, all that kind of stuff.
I'll be honest with you. On the day watching it, I thought he was the best horse. Looking at the race as it unfolded, I thought he was going to come and win. But when you see Brueghel keep pulling out a little bit more, he's typical Aidan O'Brien, tough as nails. And again, I can see the same thing happening. You know, if the pacemaker goes on, Ryan will probably sit second or third handy, and he'll kick on up there, and then whatever has to come to him, whether it'll be Rebel Romance or, you know, I think Rebel Romance will be tough.
Do you like an older filly in the King George? Kalpana gets £3 from the boys.
No, enough.
No,
£3.
She should have. I know Whirl Mini Hawk. The form looks solid enough or whatever, but I felt she should have beaten Whirl in the Pretty Polly.
Probably, but as I said, how long have we got back when Paul Hannigan won on John Gosling's filly?
Right.
I think that was the last filly to win, was it?
Yeah, the Oaks winner.
Yeah.
Okay. Whose names escaped all of us as we speak, but we all
Obviously,
know the one we mean.
Yeah, but obviously we had an Abel. Was she 3 when she won, or was she older?
Yeah, but there were only about 2 runners in the race. But yeah. Well, there were. I mean, it was a 3-runner race, wasn't it? It was Crystal Ocean and the other one.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So Kalpana we don't like, and also might want rain as well. You know, her best form's in soft.
We're not forecast any, are we?
I didn't see.
From tomorrow onwards.
Well,
tonight you're going to
your shirt's about to show that it's raining as we speak right now. Okay, well look, and if Lambourne went, I mean, isn't he just Brueghel in disguise, but as a 3-year-old, getting nearly a stone from the older horses. I mean, he'd race just like Jan Brueghel if he was in it.
Yeah, and he's another horse. He's tough and he gallops. He gallops for fun. I was kind of like a little bit disappointed at the Curragh because I thought he'd march home on his own, but for whatever reason, and again, if he turns up, we just don't know, do we?
You rode plenty for Aidan O'Brien, obviously. That race he had at the Curragh, I thought, was a massive step up on what he did at Epsom. Say he had a really hard race. What would the turnaround be with Aidan O'Brien?
It doesn't make a difference about the turnaround. You can never tell really. You know, one thing you don't see, he wouldn't run the horse if he didn't think he's going to, you know,
perform.
Yeah. So if he's there, he's doing well.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, he is a lovely, big, easy type, and you won't probably see the best of him until next year.
Yeah.
To Gruder, Paul Hannigan.
Yeah.
3 King Georges for an Abel, but the fields were a bit motley on occasions. She won it at 3, 5 and 6, but
this will be a tough race, I think, this year.
it's kind of a warrior's race, isn't it? It's not for the faint-hearted, this.
You'd love to know actually what is going to run now, and then it'd be easier to talk about.
I know. But the prices will be shorter once we know what's going to run. So there is an advantage in not knowing. Okay, let's sum it all up. Kieran Fallon makes the comeback. Obviously, you're immediately favourite for the race because you can just choose whatever. Or you like the pig. It's like Piggott coming back. You can just choose whatever you want. Who would you choose to ride? Who would you beg to ride?
I would love to ride Rebel's Romance.
Would you?
He's a monster, a beautiful, big, genuine horse, and he's coming into the race strong, especially after his Royal Ascot win. His confidence will be very high.
Okay, Rebel's Romance, the absolute globetrotter. He's done it all around the world. Breeders' Cup hero. When the going gets tough, Rebel's Romance gets going. Seb, if you were to make a comeback, obviously you'd probably be on continuous, but what would you like?
The clock.
You'd be making the pace. Not for Kieran, though, on this occasion. Right, who would you ride, Jockey apart?
The painter, Jan Brueghel.
Would you?
Yeah. I think he's the most straightforward. He stays really well, and he's got plenty of class. I like the way he won the Coronation because he looked like he was just going to get walked over at one stage, and he just kept digging out. I think he's an out-and-out stayer, and I think he's going to be very tough to pass.
Have you said to me it was a painting, not a painter?
A painter, yeah.
He said Jan Brueghel is a painter.
He did Chapman's bathroom at the weekend.
And I tell you who I'd have. I'd have the Kieran Fallon in equine form. Talented, quirky, will get you in trouble and make you look silly from time to time, but you know has that ability to do anything. And that, of course, is Calandagan. I just think that he loves the place. Finally, lads, just before we go, because people love seeing you two, do you miss each other? Because I do a lot of Mondays and Tuesday nights in the winter, Kieran, and almost every one of them, Seb brings you up. He is an absolute fanboy of yours.
No, I'm not.
We play golf all the time and paddle. I have to give him a paddle lesson now and again.
You'd need a big paddle if you're on a boat, wouldn't you? Anyway, isn't it great to see the lads? Kieran Fallon, 6 times champion jockey, King George winner on Golan. Seb Sanders, nearly a champion jockey and tailed off on Look Here. But great to look back at the big race with them both.